Have you ever walked into a room and felt every eye shift toward you without you saying a single word? That's not coincidence. That's energy. That's power. Some people carry an aura so strong, so undeniable, it unsettles those around them. Today, I'm going to reveal the 13 signs your aura is so powerful, it can actually disturb others. And if you recognize these signs in yourself, it means you are not ordinary. You are extraordinary. The question is, are you ready to own it? When you walk into a room, before you even speak, before you introduce yourself, people already begin forming an opinion of you. That is the undeniable truth about human interaction. Your presence arrives long before your words ever do. Presence is a silent language, one that communicates on frequencies far deeper than spoken speech. It is in the way you carry yourself, the way you breathe, the way you stand, and the way your eyes connect with others. People pick up on it instantly, often unconsciously, and it shapes their perception of you in ways words never could. Think about the last time someone walked into a space and everyone seemed to turn their heads without knowing why. That person didn't need to announce themselves, didn't need to be the loudest in the room, yet they captured attention. That's what it means when your presence speaks louder than your words. It's not about arrogance, it's not about showing off, it's about an unshakable inner state that radiates outward. People feel it. They can't always explain it, but they sense it. And here's the powerful part. Presence can either calm others, inspire them, or even unsettle them, depending on how secure they are within themselves. Presence is not built overnight. It is the product of self-awareness, discipline, and inner alignment. When you know who you are, when you've done the work to understand your strengths, your flaws, and your boundaries, you carry yourself differently. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need validation. You don't seek to dominate. Instead, you simply are. That level of certainty communicates louder than anything you could ever say. Words can be debated, twisted, or ignored, but presence leaves no room for argument. It lands directly in people's nervous systems. They either lean into it or recoil from it. Sometimes your presence unsettles people not because you're doing anything wrong, but because you're a mirror. You reflect back to them what they are not yet willing to confront in themselves. If you stand tall in your authenticity, someone who hides behind masks may feel threatened. If you move with confidence, someone who doubts themselves may misinterpret you as intimidating. If your silence carries weight, someone who fills space with noise may feel exposed in your company. This is why your presence alone can speak louder than anything you try to say. It bypasses the intellect and touches something raw inside others. Now consider environments where words are everywhere, constantly flowing. Offices, social gatherings, even digital spaces. Words are easy to throw around. Anyone can talk, but presence cannot be faked. You can feel when someone is grounded in their truth and when someone is performing. The difference is visceral. One creates trust and draws respect. The other eventually collapses under its own weight. That's why people with strong presence are often misunderstood. They don't need to convince anyone, and in a world addicted to noise that can feel unsettling, presence also dictates influence. A person of few words can command more attention than someone who never stops speaking. It's the weight behind the silence, the energy in the pause, the conviction in a glance. That's why great leaders, protectors, and visionaries have always relied more on presence than on speeches. The speech may move people for a moment, but presence shapes how people remember you long after you've left the room. When your presence speaks louder than your words, you stop wasting energy trying to be heard. You no longer chase approval. You understand that people will feel you before they ever hear you, and that awareness allows you to move differently. It's a quiet power, but it's also an undeniable one, and the more you own it, the more you'll realize that the strongest message you'll ever send requires no words at all. People often underestimate how much of our communication is nonverbal. Long before a word leaves your lips, your energy has already entered the room and introduced you. People feel you before they see you. They may not be consciously aware of it, but deep down their bodies respond, their instincts react, and their emotions shift. That is because human beings are wired to sense energy, subtle cues, vibrations, and frequencies that tell us whether someone is safe, trustworthy, or powerful. This instinct has been with us since the beginning of time, when survival depended on detecting danger before it showed itself. Even in our modern world, that instinct hasn't disappeared. It's why you can walk into a place and immediately feel tension without hearing a word. It's why you can meet someone new and know in seconds whether you're drawn to them or repelled by them. When your energy is strong, people notice. They feel the intensity, the presence, the weight of who you are before they even process your physical appearance. This isn't about being attractive, tall, or loud. It's not about superficial qualities. It's about the force you carry with you, the alignment between your internal state and the external energy you project. When those two are congruent, you radiate something people cannot ignore. They may not always be able to describe it, but they sense it deeply. Some are drawn to it, inspired by it, even comforted by it. Others may feel threatened or uncomfortable because your energy forces them to confront the imbalance within themselves. Think of the times you've encountered someone who exudes calm confidence. They may not speak much, yet their presence shifts the atmosphere. Suddenly, people sit up straighter, they listen more attentively, they feel safer or more grounded. That is energy at work. On the other hand, you've likely also met people who haven't said a word, but the moment they walked in, you could feel something was off. Maybe they carried anger, insecurity, or chaos. That energy spreads too. The difference is that one type of energy elevates the room while the other drains it. When your aura is powerful, people cannot help but respond to it, whether positively or negatively. It's important to understand that energy is not about being forceful or dominating. It's not about trying to control others. True energy comes from within, from alignment with your values, your integrity, and your sense of purpose. People feel it because it's authentic. They can't always articulate it, but they sense when something is real. That is why you don't need to announce your strength, prove your worth, or chase validation. When you embody your energy fully, people simply feel it. And ironically, the more secure you are in it, the less you need to demonstrate it with words. Your energy also serves as a boundary. Without you saying anything, it communicates what is acceptable and what is not. People can feel whether they can approach you casually, whether they need to show respect, or whether they should keep their distance. Energy carries authority. It sets the tone. That's why people of strong character and discipline often appear intimidating to those who rely on manipulation or superficial charm. The energy exposes them, and they sense it instantly. In life, you'll find that words can deceive, but energy never lies. Someone can tell you they're fine while their energy screams otherwise. Someone can say they're confident while their energy reveals insecurity. But when your energy is solid, it speaks for you in every space you enter. It announces your strength, your presence, and your authenticity without you needing to open your mouth. This is why people remember how you made them feel more than what you said. Your energy left the imprint. And if your aura is truly powerful, that imprint lingers long after you're gone. Authenticity is a force that many people claim to value, but few are truly comfortable facing. Because when you are authentic, you stop hiding behind masks and excuses. You stand in your truth whether people like it or not, and that level of honesty makes others uneasy. The reason is simple. Your authenticity highlights where others are not being real with themselves. It exposes the gap between who they pretend to be and who they actually are. That exposure can feel threatening, not because you are attacking them, but because your presence reminds them of the lies they've chosen to live with. When you choose authenticity, you choose to reject performance. You no longer seek approval by conforming to what everyone else expects. You no longer water yourself down so that others feel comfortable. Instead, you show up as you are, flaws, strengths, imperfections, and all. This kind of honesty creates a mirror for the people around you. If they have not yet done the work to accept themselves, your rawness makes them squirm. They sense that you are not interested in playing the same games they play, and that alone exposes their insecurities. You're not trying to compete with them, but your truth makes their pretenses look fragile. It is easier for many people to hide behind a facade than to deal with who they really are. They craft personalities that are socially acceptable, roles that are convenient, or versions of themselves that are designed to gain approval. But when you stand in authenticity, all of that collapses. They realize that there are people who don't need to pretend, people who don't care if they are accepted, people who are comfortable being real. That realization forces them to question why they are still hiding, and for some, that question is too heavy to face. Authenticity also has a unique kind of power because it cannot be manipulated. When you are authentic, people can't control you with opinions, praise, or criticism. You're not performing for their validation, which means they lose their leverage. That unsettles those who rely on control because they can't figure out how to influence you. They may even resent you for it. Your authenticity exposes not just insecurities, but also hidden agendas. It makes clear who is genuine and who is pretending. And in a world where so many people trade authenticity for acceptance, being real is one of the most powerful and disruptive things you can do. There's also a quiet freedom that comes with authenticity. You no longer carry the burden of trying to be what everyone else wants. That freedom radiates from you, and people sense it. They notice that you're not playing by the same rules, and it unsettles them because deep down, they want that same freedom but are afraid to claim it. Instead of celebrating it, some will criticize you, label you, or even distance themselves from you because your authenticity is a reminder of their own fear. Others, however, will be drawn to you because they crave that same honesty in their own lives. Living authentically does not mean you will always be liked, but it does mean you will always be real. Some people will respect you for it, others will avoid you, but either way, your truth creates a ripple. It challenges the falsehoods around you without you having to say a word. And every time you choose authenticity, you give silent permission for others to do the same, even if at first your authenticity makes them uncomfortable. Because in the end, the discomfort is not about you, it is about the insecurities they have not yet confronted within themselves. Respect is not something that can be forced, demanded, or negotiated into existence. True respect is something people grant willingly, often without being asked, because they recognize the strength of character you embody. When you carry yourself with integrity, when you move with confidence but without arrogance, when your actions consistently align with your words, you command respect naturally. People may not even fully understand why, but they feel compelled to acknowledge your presence. This is a quiet power, one that doesn't rely on intimidation or authority, but on the undeniable consistency of who you are. Commanding respect begins with self-respect. If you don't hold yourself to a standard, if you allow yourself to be disrespected, or if you compromise your values for the sake of approval, others will mirror that treatment back to you. People take cues from how you treat yourself. When you walk with a sense of self-worth, when you set boundaries without apology, you send a message that you expect to be treated a certain way. It isn't about being confrontational, it's about being unwavering in the standards you've set. And when others recognize that you won't tolerate less than what you deserve, they naturally rise to meet it. The mistake many people make is trying to demand respect by raising their voices, asserting dominance, or constantly reminding others of their worth. That usually backfires because it signals insecurity. The louder someone insists on being respected, the more it reveals that they don't fully believe they deserve it. In contrast, someone who knows their value doesn't need to argue for it. They simply live it. They show up with discipline, follow through on their promises, and embody a strength that is obvious to everyone around them. Respect flows toward them because people trust what they see. Commanding respect without demanding it also means not lowering yourself to games or petty competition. Insecure people often try to test boundaries, to provoke reactions, or to undermine you subtly. But if you meet them with calm, if you refuse to be dragged into unnecessary conflict, You demonstrate mastery over yourself. That kind of composure is rare, and people respect it deeply. They may try to rattle you, but when they realize they cannot shake your center, they are forced to acknowledge your strength. True respect is often earned in silence, in the way you respond, or refuse to respond, when others attempt to challenge you. Respect also comes from how you treat others, especially those who cannot offer you anything in return. People observe not only how you carry yourself, but also how you extend dignity and fairness to those around you. If your strength comes with compassion, if your power does not crush others but instead inspires them, then you command respect in a way that endures. People may forget your words, but they will remember how you made them feel and how you treated them when you had the choice to either lift them up or tear them down. There will always be those who misunderstand your confidence, who confuse self-assurance with arrogance. That is not your concern. Respect is not about being liked by everyone. It is about being recognized by those who value authenticity, strength, and integrity. The ones who are unsettled by your presence are often the ones who haven't cultivated those qualities in themselves. And even if they resist acknowledging it, deep down they still feel it. They may not say it, but they respect you for not bending, for not lowering your standards, and for embodying what they secretly wish they could. When you move through life this way, respect ceases to be something you chase. It becomes something that follows you naturally, a reflection of the consistency, discipline, and authenticity you live by every single day. Silence is one of the most underestimated forms of power. In a world where everyone feels the need to speak, to argue, to defend, and to constantly express themselves, silence becomes unsettling. It is the absence of noise that forces people to pay attention, because silence has a way of magnifying presence. When you remain quiet, people project their own thoughts, insecurities, and assumptions onto you, and often the silence says far more than any words could. Your ability to remain composed and reserved when others expect a reaction creates a tension that cannot be ignored. It communicates strength, control, and depth without requiring a single sound. Most people fill silence because they are uncomfortable with it. They fear that if they do not keep talking, they will lose relevance, authority, or influence. But those who are grounded in themselves understand that silence does not diminish power, it enhances it. By not rushing to fill the air with explanations or defenses, you signal that you are not desperate to be heard and that self-assurance makes others lean in. People listen more carefully to someone who speaks sparingly because every word becomes valuable. When silence is your default, your words carry more weight when you finally choose to use them. Your silence can also expose others. In conversation, people often reveal more than they intend when you simply stay quiet and let them speak. They rush to explain themselves, to justify, to prove their point, while you remain calm and observant. This imbalance unsettles them because they realize they have given away more than they wanted, while you have given away nothing. It places you in control without aggression, and that control commands attention. People may call it mysterious or intimidating, but really it is discipline. The discipline to resist the urge to over-explain or to seek validation. In conflict, silence is an even greater weapon. While others lose their composure, raise their voices, and scramble to win the argument, your stillness makes their chaos more obvious. You don't have to engage in the same energy to show your strength. Your calmness highlights their lack of control. Silence in those moments is not weakness. It is dominance through restraint. It communicates that you are unshaken, that you will not be pulled into negativity, and that your presence alone is enough to hold your ground. Those who thrive on reaction quickly realize they cannot manipulate or destabilize someone who refuses to be provoked. Silence is also a form of listening, and deep listening is rare. When you allow yourself to fully hear others without interrupting, without rushing to respond, people sense a depth in you that is uncommon. They feel seen even when you haven't said anything. This kind of silence creates trust because it shows patience and control. And yet, it also reminds people that your thoughts are your own, that you do not give them away carelessly, and that not everything you perceive will be spoken out loud. That combination of attentiveness and restraint leaves people both curious and cautious around you. The noise of the world is constant, and because of that, silence stands out even more. It unsettles those who depend on chatter to feel secure, and it empowers those who know the value of self-possession. When your silence carries weight, you don't need to defend yourself against every opinion, you don't need to respond to every provocation, and you don't need to prove yourself to anyone. People learn quickly that your quiet is not emptiness. It is presence, it is authority, and it is the loudest statement you can make without speaking. That is why your silence often makes more noise than their opinions ever could.